Astroseptalingua is a simple language of the planets. We convert the data of the horoscope, a traditional chart of the heavens, into written and spoken sentences. At the core of every sentence are the 7 planets marked by 7 consonants. Here are the 7 standard consonants. For the moon, L. For Mercury, TH, the Greek letter theta. For Venus, V. For the Sun, S. Although there are 2 forms, there's also SH. For Mars, M. For Jupiter, Z. For Saturn, K. There are 2 forms for the Sun because the Sun is marked as either diurnal or nocturnal. Where the Sun is above the horizon, it is marked by the letter S. Where the Sun is nocturnal, in a nocturnal chart, the Sun is marked by SH. Here is the horoscope of the American writer Herman Melville, made for 11:30 p.m., 1st of August, 1819, New York City. It's a useful chart for our purposes because it is uncluttered. There are no conjunctions. We will use it as our example. Notice the order in which the planets will rise: Mars, Venus, Sun, Mercury, Moon, Jupiter, Saturn. Here is this chart of the heavens at this time and this place, rendered into Astroseptalingua. Mim, o, vo, pause. Shre, ethri, ro, la, que, zi, iske, ra. Mim ovo, shre, ethri, ro, la, que, zi, iske, ra. Again. Mim, o, vo, shre, ethri, ro, la, que, zi, iske, ra. Here are the 7 planetary consonants in this sentence. Here, for clarity, are the consonants marked on the horoscope. Astroseptalingua is simple. At the core of every sentence are the 7 consonants marking the planets in their order of rising. Everything else in the language are modifications of this series of 7 consonants. The sentence is the natural unit of expression in Astroseptalingua. Every horoscope is rendered into a sentence, that is, a grammatical unit that is syntactically independent and complete in itself, with subject, object and verb. Every sentence consists of 2 phrases, the head and the body, separated by a pause marking the lower midheaven in the horoscope. The head before the lower midheaven, that is, the 1st, 2nd and 3rd houses of the horoscope. The body are all the houses after that. The head-body analogy has a certain natal symbolism. The planets are counted in their order of rising, like a child being born head first into the world. The head is born first. There is a pause, then the body. The lower midheaven, the symbolic midnight, is the dividing line. It divides the 2 parts of the sentence. The lower midheaven, the IC, is marked by a pause. The pause is the length of a word. That is, there is a silent, implied, or unspoken word. Here it is illustrated in the chart of Herman Melville. There are several types of sentences in Astroseptalingua. There are ordinary sentences, and then there are questions, exclamations, and ellipses. Questions: where there is a planet or planets in the 12th house and no planets in the 11th or 10th. Exclamations: where there is a planet or planets in the 10th house and no planets in the 11th or 12th. And ellipses: where there is no planet or planets in the 10th, 11th or 12th houses. That is, the last quadrant of the horoscope contains no planets. Here's an example of a question. The horoscope of Alan Watts. Notice how Venus is in the 12th house, but the 10th and 11th are empty. This horoscope is a question. Here is an example of an exclamation. Notice how the 12th and 11th houses are empty, but the moon is in the 10th house. This horoscope renders a sentence that is an exclamation. Here is an example of an ellipsis. There is nothing in the 12th, 11th or 10th houses. The main modification of the planetary consonants is the addition of vowels. These are determined by the element of the sign in which the planet is located. If it's in a fire sign, it takes an A. If in an air sign, an I. If in a water sign, an O. If in an earth sign, an E. In the first instance, these are all short vowels. Note that the zodiac signs are not marked, only the element of the sign. We have a planet plus element, a consonant plus vowel. Here are the elemental vowels in the horoscope of Herman Melville. Astroseptalingua is a syllabary. Here are the core syllables in the case of Melville. Mi marks Mars in air. Vo marks Venus in water. She marks Sun in fire. Thi marks Mercury in air. La marks Moon in fire. Z marks Jupiter in air, and Ka marks Saturn in fire. By default, they are all short vowels. There are cases of long vowels. Principally, the element of the rising sign takes a long vowel, and the planet that rules the rising sign takes a long vowel. But there are only 4 vowels, long and short. 7 consonants, 4 vowels. Where a planet is in its domicile, its ruling house, it is marked by adding the letter R to the consonant. The exception is the moon. This is marked by doubling the L. For example, where Venus is in Taurus or Libra, the V takes an R, vre or vri. Where Saturn is in Capricorn, it would be cre. In the case of Melville, we notice that the nocturnal sun takes an R because the sun is in its domicile, Leo. In the case of Melville, there are 2 planets in their domicile, the Sun and Mercury. In both cases, they take an R. Planets in their domicile are marked with an R. A special case of a planet in its domicile is where it resolves the horoscope. Where a planet in its domicile resolves the horoscope, it is marked by the letter E prefixed to the consonant. Not all horoscopes can be resolved in this way, but where they can, the planet is marked with an E. Melville's horoscope is a good example of this. Venus rules the ascendant. Venus is in Cancer. Cancer is ruled by the Moon. The Moon is in Sagittarius. Jupiter rules Sagittarius. Jupiter is in Aquarius. Saturn rules Aquarius. Saturn is in Aries. Mars rules Aries. Mars is in Gemini. Gemini is ruled by Mercury. Mercury is in Virgo. Mercury rules Virgo. The horoscope is resolved in Mercury in Virgo. Here it is in the sentence. The horoscope is resolved in Mercury in Virgo. Mercury takes an R because it's in its domicile, but it is marked by the prefix E because it resolves the horoscope. Regarding retrogradation, where a planet is retrograde, it is marked by the addition of I as a prefix to the consonant. For example, if Saturn is in a fire sign and is retrograde, it is marked as Ike. The I as a prefix indicates retrogradation. Now the core grammar: subject, object, verb. Every sentence has subject, object, and verb. They correspond to data from the horoscope as follows. The subject is the ruler of the ascendant. The object is the ruler of the descendant. The verb is the ruler of the midheaven. We are drawing parallels between the structures of grammar and the structures of the cosmos. If the sky was a sentence, the east would be the subject, the west the object, and the verb is overhead. This is how these structures are marked. The subject of the sentence is marked by the freestanding particle O before the consonant or before a compound word containing the consonant. For example, where Venus is in a water sign and is the subject of the sentence, it would be marked as O, Vo. If Venus were in a fire sign, it would be marked as O, Va. The subject of the sentence is the planet that rules the ascendant. The object of the sentence is marked by adding another consonant to the end of the word, a terminal consonant to the word containing the consonant. The consonant is added as a suffix. For example, where Venus is in a water sign and is the object of the sentence, it is marked as Vov. If Venus were in a fire sign, it would be marked as Vav. The object of the sentence is marked by a terminal consonant. The object of the sentence is the planet that rules the descendant. It is marked by a terminal consonant. The verb of the sentence is marked by a transmutation of the consonant. Where Venus is in a water sign and is the verb of the sentence. It is marked as pho. If Venus were in a fire sign, it would be marked as tha. The V has transmuted into an F. The verb of the sentence is the planet that rules the midheaven. It is marked by a mutation of the planet's consonant. Here are the verbal consonants. For the moon, B. For Mercury, D. For Venus, F. For the sun, G or J. For Mars, N. For Jupiter, P. And for Saturn, X. Here is the case of Melville again. The subject is Venus, marked as OVO. The object is Mars, marked as MIM. The verb is Saturn, marked as ISCA. The I indicates that it's retrograde, and the K has transmuted into an X. Saturn is the verb in the sentence. It's marked by the X. Saturn is in a fire sign. Saturn is retrograde. The grammatical order in Melville's case is object, subject, verb. To Mars, Venus did Saturn. Other than the 7 planets, the factors noted in our language are the nodes and the part of fortune. These are important factors in ancient and traditional horoscopy. Our language isn't cluttered with modern planets, asteroids and other astrological paraphernalia. It's designed for simplicity and is based on the 7 planets, the 4 elements, the nodes of the moon, and the part of fortune, which is a synthesis of sun, moon, and ascendant. The lunar nodes are marked by the syllables Ra and Ro, either as freestanding words or as part of compound words. The ascending node is Ra and the descending node Ro. The vowels are always long. The vowels are not changed by the element of the sign they are in. Here are the nodes marked in the case of Melville. In this sentence, there are no compound words, and so they are freestanding. The synthetic point, the pars fortuna, is marked by the letter Q with an elemental vowel as a separate freestanding syllable or word added to the sentence at the appropriate place, that is, in sequence. These syllables cannot form compounds with others. There is always one in a sentence, and it always stands alone. Where the part of fortune is on one of the angles, the 1st, 4th, 7th or 10th house, it takes the prefix A, the short A. The pars fortuna tells us about the condition of the subject. It is an extension of the ascendant. Note the difference between the pars fortuna and the nodes. The nodes always have a long vowel. The pars fortuna's vowel is determined by the element of the sign and is only long where it is the element of the ascendant. The pars fortuna, being a synthetic point, is freestanding in a sentence and does not compound with other syllables. The nodes can be freestanding or they can compound with planets where they are conjunct by house. I will cover the compounding of syllables in a later presentation. There are also a set of glyphs used to represent Astroseptalingua that will be covered in a later presentation as well. In this presentation, we have covered some of the basic rules.
you.